everybody, let's get started. As you know, I'm Joanne Fisher, the president of Space Coast Writers Guild. Thank you very much for coming in person today. I appreciate it. I love meeting you all in person. And for all those at the back, all those who are online, welcome. And we're also going to be recording this session and we're going to be posting it on our website. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, so let's start with who's new, what's new, anything new, what's going on, please. Go ahead and stand up and say hi. Hello.
Did I miss something?
No, you didn't miss it.
Okay.
We just started. We just started. So, anybody got anything new, any news? Any new published books? Cindy, you have any published books?
I'm sorry, we're doing real
Okay,
good.
all right. Okay, you're doing business? Okay, all right. Well, we'll wait till the end. Okay. Yes, come on up. Come on up, because we're recording, so I'd rather you come up. Go ahead.
I'm Tom Lofgren, participating in NaNoWriMo this month. I'm up to 10,000 words.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing very well like that.
But it's been fun. I would not recommend being a planner versus a plotter. I would not recommend you being a planner when you do this because it takes a long time to evolve your book, and that's where my difficulty is going.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you. All right. Yes. All right. All right, anybody else have anything new going on? You want to come talk? Come on. I'm going to give you the microphone. Just hold it in your hand real quick. Go.
Good morning. Testing. I'll speak loud enough anyway. Good morning. Just wanted to point out I'm selling my book, The Magic of Christmas, over on the side. If anybody's interested today, it's at the special holiday price of $8.99. After the holidays, it goes back to its original price of $10.99. It's a book, Christmas anthology, various different poems. All the poems kind of coming back to the original thesis that Christmas is so much more than just the glitter and the toys and the lights and such, but there's a lot deeper meaning to it. So anybody interested, see me at the end of the meeting, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you, Richard, appreciate it. Okay, anybody else have anything new going on? Cindy, do you want to come up and talk about your book real quick?
Now, LibreOffice has those 5 packages in it. They emulate everything that's in Microsoft Office. Okay? Writer is Word. It works the same way. It can track changes. You can put notes and comments in if you wish to, if you're working with an editor, for example. All of my books, I work with a couple of different editors, and when you save something in LibreOffice, do a save as, and save it in Word or Office 2003 format, a doc file. By doing it that way, that's a standardized doc format that any word processor in the world can load nowadays, and it will maintain all of your formatting, fonts, embedded graphics, track changes, and notes and things from your editor. So you don't have to worry about that way. I've worked over the past 15 years now. I've worked with about a dozen different editors, and we always trade files back and forth in that format, and never had a problem with working with track changes or notes. This Impress is what I'm using for this presentation right now. I wrote this just last week, and it does what it's supposed to do. Calc's a spreadsheet. Draw, I'll be honest, I never use the Draw program. It's, should I say crude? But it's like the drawing program that's in Microsoft Office. It's crude. Okay. If you do a document that needs advanced math symbols, you know, the giant, square root signs with 5 other formulas nested within, that's what you use the math portion of it for. It'll let you work with those kind of symbols. One of the big differences, Microsoft uses various docx formats and has for years. And LibreOffice, if you save in their native format without switching it to a doc file, if you set it to their standard format, which is ODT, Open Document Template, it's called, it doesn't save a bunch of junk in the file. For example, as I mentioned there, an ODT format novel came out at 58 megabyte. When I resaved it in Word 2003 doc format, it came out as 140 megabyte. And all that is extra crud that Microsoft embeds within their documents, which you don't see, you can't even get at. Any questions so far?
Why do they do that?
Most of it is legacy. They've been making Word since 86 or 87, something like that, with the first full version in Windows. And in order to keep backwards compatibility, they keep adding on to it. And it's growing, and it's out of control. That's the same way with Microsoft Windows. They wanted to support programs that were made back in the late 80s, early 90s. So Windows has grown to be such a huge program, application or operating system. And that's one of the reasons it's got so many bugs in it, and it's easy for hackers to hack, because they use old problems from back then. Okay, if you're doing a document where you're actually putting photographs or drawings into the document, embedding it, most of the time, if you take a picture with a modern camera, you're talking about something that's like 4,000 pixels across. And makes beautiful sharp images. You blow them up on an 8x10 or a 12x20, and like that, you get these beautiful sharp images. The only trouble is, online and on websites, and if you're doing a book on a paperback or something like that, those pictures are much smaller. You don't need that kind of resolution. And if you just drag and drop that image into it, it makes your document file end up being much, much larger than it needs to be. So I recommend using GIMP, which I'll get to in a minute. It's an editing program, and shrinking the images down, making them not quite as high a resolution, whatever you need for the Word. For instance, my camera, it's 4,200 and some pixels across an image. When I post these images on the web, I drop them down to only 2,400 dots across. You can't tell the difference between the two of them on a website, even with a large screen monitor like that. It looks the same, but they load faster and people don't complain. Okay? Just to give you an idea, you can do all sorts of graphics using free software. This is a science fiction novel I did a while back. This entire cover art and everything was done. And this particular book, by the way, was my proof copy, and it's a good example of why you need to have a proof copy. Because after I got this in, I realized that the name was faded out, it wasn't showing right, and also I was wrapping around the edge of the spine there, the text. It wasn't formatted properly. So I changed that and then printed another copy, and it came out perfect, and that's the one that is available now that you can purchase. This was done with a combination of two programs, one called GIMP, New Image Manipulation Program, everybody calls it, and another one called Inkscape. GIMP is a bitmap graphics editor. It's what you use to edit photographs and drawings, paintings, things like that, things that you've taken a picture of. It works with individual dots, so you can change color sets. And in a couple of minutes here, I'm going to load up each of these programs and talk about them. We'll play with them a little bit, and you see some of what I'm describing. Yes, Dan?
Hi, Anthony. Do you have any issues with Amazon when you upload covers with any of these programs?
I haven't dealt with Amazon for a few years,
Okay.
but I always follow the guidelines of Amazon,
Right.
Smashwords, Lulu.
Right. Okay.
Any
Even
of
as
the
far as-
graph to digital, any of the companies, the printing
Right.
companies.
But these,
If you
but these
follow their
software,
guidelines, you don't have the problems of cover art.
okay, so these softwares are good for when to submit to these websites, okay,
I'll show you how to handle that in a second
Okay.
when we get to Inkscape,
okay, perfect,
okay?
all right.
The difference between a bitmap program and a vector art program, like Inkscape, I imagine most of you at one point or another have worked with Adobe Photoshop. You've done some graphics on that. GIMP is like Photoshop, does the same thing. Moves dots, change color sets, blur and like that. But if you take a photograph, any photograph, and you start blowing it up, you'll get to a point where you'll see the individual pixels, again, with the blocky little things. Okay, it looks caca. But that's a fault of the resolution. There's nothing more you can do beyond that point. Vector art doesn't save an image as dots. It saves it as a series of points, 2 points and a curve between, defined mathematically. No, you don't have to be a mathematician to do it. You draw with it. But the idea is that once you save a picture in vector art, you can print it on a business card, or you can take that same image and have it done by a professional sign company as a billboard by the side of the road, and it'll be as sharp as their printer, billboard printer, can make it. Okay, that's the differences between the two. Inkscape is like Adobe Illustrator or the old Corel Draw. Those are vector art programs. There's a place for both of them. You can combine them. And for example, the background of this image, this moon and earth shot, is a NASA JPL free image that you can download from the web. It's free, that anybody can use. Our government money paid for it. And this is a vector art drawing. And I resized them, and the basic layout, all the text on the page, was done with vector art. I can print this out, and I have in the past printed it out as a poster size. And when I do it in the poster size, then you can see the moon gets a little grainy, little blocky if you look close. But everything else is tack sharp. Okay, that's the differences between the two.
Question for you.
Yes.
Can you take the JPEG
Mm-hmm.
and import it into and basically convert it to the vector art so you don't get the pixels, or does that not work so well?
There is an import routine to do that. It doesn't work worth a damn. Plain and simple. Basically, if you want something like that, the way to do it is to, you have to be familiar with working with the vector art program, drawing with it, is to import your JPEG file and change it over to either black and white or change the color sets on it so it's really stark, stands out, sharp differences between different parts of the program. Drop it in there into the vector program and then trace it. Trace the parts of it that you want. Trace those as vector art, and then you can do that with it. And that's what a lot of professional graphic artists do. You'll notice that some billboards, you'll see the face of some Hollywood star like that. Looks good, looks like them, but it's kind of plasticky looking. Looks like maybe they had way too much makeup on, or the lights are too bright or something. That's because they'd actually drawn over them. They created vector art from a photograph of it. Okay. Darktable, any of you worked with Adobe Lightroom? It's a handy program for cataloging all your photos. I know I have 60,000 plus photographs on my hard drive at home. And sometimes, no, most of the time, it's a real pain in the going back and find something that I took a picture of 5 years ago. This makes it a lot easier. This is a free and open source version of Lightroom. It's called Darktable. It shows them as a gallery of photos, and you can attach keywords, hashtags to your photos. For instance, if you have a picture at a hot rod show of this rockabilly type dude with a guitar standing next to a hot rod with some pretty girl in a bikini standing next to him, you can catalog that and put a hashtag in hot rod, guitar, rockabilly, bikini model, red pickup truck, whatever, a bunch of different tags. And later on, if you're looking for a particular element, you can search on those hashtags and it'll show you a gallery of the pictures that have those tags attached to them. So it's real easy to find a picture you maybe took 5 or 10 years ago that has a certain thing in it that you need for a cover art or for embedded into your document. Here's an example of what I meant by raster versus vector graphics. 7 times magnification. That's what the vector art looks like in this little circle here. If you take it as a bitmap, that's what it looks like. Inkscape is the vector art program. It's the same as CorelDRAW and Adobe Illustrator and several other vector type programs. You can bring JPEGs and other bitmap files into it and then work them in to move them around. That's what I did for, there's a calendar I just did a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Let's see. There's Daisy. Version 1. For example, those are photographs that I just brought in, that I took, that I resized them, shoved them around, made one come a little bit in front of the other, and then added my text. See? And that's what you can do with a vector art program like Inkscape. How many of you tried doing audiobooks? Yes?
Mhm.
Yeah, you made it yourself or did you send it out?
No, I went to a friend who, yeah,
And I use Audacity.
You used Audacity.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know where I'm coming from.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Audacity is an audio program. It's essentially a small recording studio. You can record on it. You can change editing, the size of your files, how sharp they are. You can enhance them in different ways. The most important thing is that I found in it is you can remove background noise. I don't have a soundproof audio studio for recording. I got the air conditioner running in the background,
Yeah.
My cat occasionally yells at me. So on my audiobook, what I did is I'll record it. Before I start a recording, I just let it go silent. I don't say anything for 10 seconds. And when I'm through speaking, I let it record for another 10 seconds. In Audacity, you can go in, grab that 10 seconds there. That's all your background noise. You can then tell the program, this is the background noise, remove it. A few seconds later, you have a nice clean file that's got just your voice on it, not all that crud in the background. Quite useful. Once again, free for the download.
How user-friendly is it?
I can show you like 3 things on it that is used 90% of the time, like how to remove background noise. Other than that, if you're into audio, it's got all the tools. If you've never worked with audio before, you're gonna have a learning curve because you have, it's like working with a regular mixing board in the studio. It looks really complex. It's easy when you sit down and you learn how it works, but you do have to sit down and learn how it works.
And back in the day, I was actually worked in radio. I went to what is now UCF, or FDU back then. And I studied radio and television broadcasting. And we used to have, I worked in radio stations. We used to have big tape machines with big reels. And you'd take the cover off where the recording heads are and use grease pencils. And you would rock the tape back and forth. Okay, mark it here. And then you go to the other spot and you rock it back and forth. And you'd mark it there. And then you take it off and put it on a little block and you razor blade. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Been there, done that.
And take it and butt the two together and put some splicing tape on it. And it would take maybe 5 minutes. But the neat thing about like Audacity is you just, you say, okay, I want here. And you can either mark it or you can write down the time. You go, okay. And you can see, because you can see the waveform. So, and then you go and to the end, and you cut, bing, it puts it back together. One thing that I really like is when Joanne is doing her, like I say, she's recording an audio book, she's done with it now. And I'm doing what's called post-production. And sometimes there'll be she'll kind of do like a little, when she's breathing or something, and I just look for that little thing, bing, bing, gone, it's gone.
Also, if you're going along and you say, blah, blah, oh, by the way, I meant to say this. You can go back and you can cut out the and move on. And take out the part you,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Once you get the learning curve, it's simple.
it is. Yes, ma'am.
I just published my ebook in paperback, and I was looking into the audiobook thing, and so I was looking at ACX and Fiverr, and it's outrageous how much it costs
Yeah,
to
it
try
is
to
expensive.
get that done. So I was wanting to do it myself, but I have no idea, and I watched this YouTube thing, and the guy gave me the whole setup and said, you go into your coat closet and you record it there. Is that
And
right?
use a real microphone. Don't
Yeah.
depend on the little boom mic off your
Yeah,
headphone.
he gave the type of microphone and all the equipment, but I guess this is the part that goes on the computer, and
Right.
this is after you've done all the recording?
No, this
You
you
can
record.
record right into that.
Audacity, you record using Audacity.
How do I put that in my closet?
It's on your
You get
computer.
microphone. The
Oh, it goes through the
the
microphone,
cable
okay.
plugs into the USB port on your computer.
Oh, I see, okay, all right,
Then you just run the wire. Are you using a laptop or are you using like this?
laptop,
Laptop?
yeah,
Bring the laptop in with you.
into the closet.
Also,
Laptops are pretty much quiet.
on my website, I've got one of my blog entries is how to record an audiobook using Audacity, and it goes into some step-by-step stuff, tips and
But,
tricks.
you know, there's all kinds of YouTubes out
I
there.
love
Some
YouTube.
say, yeah, you could do it yourself. Others say, oh, you should never do it yourself. So I just don't know. It's all new to me. I don't know if I should do it
I
myself.
tell everybody, record like a poem or a one-page story that you wrote, just something short, and play with it. If you're gonna mess it up, sure, that's how you learn. Mess it up 2 or 3 times. When you get to the point where you record it 3 or 4 times and it sounds good and you like the way it's, then you can start working on your longer work.
Okay, and then if there's a part that you don't like, you can cut that out and re-record just that part.
What I try to do, if I make a mistake when I'm reading something, and I'm reading my novel, and I get to the end, my voice runs out at the end of a chapter.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I cough a couple times,
I can
wait a
do it
minute.
myself.
I wait, I give it a couple seconds, so I have blank line there. Then I go start back, 2 or 3 words back, or a paragraph back, and start reading. Again, reading from there. After I've finished that chapter, then I go back in and I edit through, and I find this place, and I cut out the place that I screwed up along with the short delay. And it all sounds like I just went through perfectly.
So if you finish and you
Yeah.
like your product, do you
Right.
take it to ACX and have them publish it, or
Yeah, you
what do
upload- you upload the file.
You can publish it yourself on your own webpage if you wish,
Okay.
or you could, like I have a free one. I have one of my active accounts is MeWe, and I have a short story that I recorded a while back as an audiobook I liked, and I decided I wasn't going to go through the hassle of selling it like that. It was fun. I liked it, and so I published it for free. I just put it up there in the file section and said, hey, here's Strawberry Sales. Go ahead and take a look if you like. Here's a quick description of it. I put the blog, the elevator script description of it, and let people download it. You can publish through Amazon or any of the other companies. There's a bunch of
So
companies
you
out
don't
there.
have to use ACX in
No.
order to get it on Amazon?
No,
Okay.
You
All
don't
right,
have to go through them.
interesting, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
By the way, these notes I'm going to be making available on my website in the next few days. So you can, if anybody wants to, they can download, get all this, as well as I've got this flyer back there that's got the links to all of the software I'm talking about. OpenShot. Now, say you want to get beyond doing an audiobook, you want to do actually a video, create your own video. OpenShot is a cross-platform video editor. It works the same way as Audacity, except it's for AV. You can cut, paste, move things around, lighten, darken, add background soundtracks, and separate a soundtrack, an audio track from a video one, and shuffle it back, move it back and forth. All the things you can do with a regular video production suite, you can do with OpenShot. Once again, it's a free download.
Does it have like stock footage or something that you can use?
No, you have to provide your own footage. You can go out and find stock clips and embed it. You can bring in any sort of file you want. You can bring in AVI files, MPEG-4 files, anything like that. You can bring in and edit it with it. What it does have is a series of titles, something, where you've got still titles you can put in. You can overlay a text title over your video, or it's got some animated titles where you can do the thing, the Hollywood thing of rolling stuff in. It's also got the Star Wars, going back like this title.
Nice.
Okay, this, like I mentioned, this is only scratching the surface. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close this off, and I'm gonna go over and load up a couple of those programs we were talking about a moment ago. Oops, cheap thrills.
Okay, while he's doing that, we're gonna go ahead and give away one of these books. This is one of our
Take the mic,
members.
please.
Sorry.
Take the mic, please.
It's okay, they can hear me, I'm loud. Yeah, I'm Italian, hello. Anyway, that's okay, it's okay. Real quick, so this is Peggy Insula, she's one of our authors, our members also, and she told me she has 2 of these books to give away. So I'm gonna go ahead and raffle one off, and she just would really appreciate a review if you can, okay? So, what number am I thinking of?
7.
13.
Got it, 7. All right, are you ready? Because I have another one.
Go ahead and do another one.
All right, I'll do another one. All right.
Why did my mouse go away all of a sudden?
Oh, technology, gotta love it. Can't live with it, can't live without it.
There it is.
All right, I have a second one. Okay, so let me think of a number. 1 to 10, okay? So 7's already said, you don't have to do 7 anymore. My next
9.
number.
10.
9.
2.
10.
3.
There you go. Thank you. All right, and just one more thing. You guys all signed in, right? Okay, very good. Take it
Okay.
away.
All right. What I brought up was a program, the first one I talked about was graphic programs, GIMP, the new image manipulation program. It's a replacement for Photoshop. I just loaded it up, and here I can grab a rectangular area of it.
You're not displaying on the
Displaying on
TV.
the screen up here.
All we have is your desktop.
And that's not even my desktop, all it shows is the background image. Oh, well. Can you folks see this at all?
Not well.
Not really.
Not really?
Is there a function button that'll ship that over to the TV on your computer?
Should.
There it is.
All right.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay. down, go to an image, crop to selection, and I just grab that piece of the image. And I'm gonna bring that back up to size here a little bit. That's just a cropping function. Now I can go to colors, curves. And here we can do things to enhance the image just by playing with those. Once again, it takes experience to sit and play with them to get the effects you want. And as you saw from this colors menu, there's lots of different individual things you can do. Anything you can do with Photoshop, you can do with this, to give you an idea. Now, I'm going to go to this magic brush here, select this, then go back over to colors, curves. Okay, select none, and I brightened up just that section of the image. I did jump the job over there, but you get the idea. You can play with it in that manner. This image at this point is 3,888 pixels wide. So I go to Image, Scale, 2400, and now it's 2400 by 18. Still looks similarly, but that's the image that I would then save, export, and save out to the web or use inside of a small document, so I don't take up all the extra room. Okay? That's, get out here, discard changes. Graphics, Inkscape. Is it there? Ooh, yes it is, my goodness. So I'm gonna grab this same image, copy, paste. Yes. Got the image like that. I can turn it around to any angle I want. And then resize it to fit on the paper. All the same commands that you would use with Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator will work with this. So if you're familiar with those programs, you can do it the same way. See? And I can go out and text. And I can move the text around any place I want on the page. Now, you mentioned a while ago having problems with cover art and stuff like that when you're working with sending out to Amazon or to other print sources. They all have a recommended size sheet for with bleed edges. Take a look at that sheet, print it out. It usually comes as a PDF. You can print it out, you can look at it, and when you do your drawing, give yourself the margin. Drag a line in, like I usually drag it in a 1/2 inch. Drag lines to a 1/2 inch out. And I make sure that everything I'm doing is within those borders. I've got that much blank space around. That way, when I print out, that was a mistake I made. When I did my first copy of this, this overlapped the bleeding part. And that's how come that wraps around. I went in, shrunk this just a little bit, this text a little bit, made it fit a little bit better here, cleaned it up a little bit. And once it was within the ones after that, then were all properly. They've got about a 1/4 inch of black on each side. And the reason the manufacturers send you, or the printers send you that test sheet is they know the prints vary from machine to machine. It may move your whole book, the whole thing may move an 1/8 of an inch in one direction or another. So if you got that extra 1/4 inch of bleed around there, it doesn't matter. It's just off just slightly from one production run to the next. Any questions so far? Okay. On the publishing industry in general, or on any of the software in particular that you're interested in?
Is the GIMP cheaper than Photoshop?
GIMP is free.
Oh, it's free, okay.
It is all.
Does it do the layers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Layers. I don't personally. I don't use layers in GIMP a lot. I prefer to use it in Inkscape because that way I've got individual items I'm working with and I can stack them. I find that's easier. That's a personal preference thing. There's people that use both GIMP and Krita and Paint Shop Pro and these other programs where they do marvelous things with layers. Especially if you want to do effects, like you've got a picture of a model standing against palm trees in the background, this sort of thing, and then you want it to look like a foggy, rainy day. Then you can use the layers to bring in a background fog to her, so it looks like it's fading out the bridge or the ocean behind her, and then you can bring in some rain effects sprinkling down in front by working with different layers and moving them around to get the effect you need.
Yeah, I use Procreate on my iPad a little, not much, but I've done a couple things for different photos, like you're saying, make a ghost.
You can, all those effects are available. Like I said, if you look at the menu on GIMP, all these programs have menus that are wide, and the drop downs have a dozen or 2 dozen items each in them. If you want to be, super professional with any of them, it's going to take time. It's like any program out there. Photoshop, for example, if you really want to be good with Photoshop, you got to spend a lot of hours playing with those menus to find all the stuff that it's got.
Yeah.
That's why they have courses on it. They offer courses. You can actually find any of the things that I've mentioned so far, as you mentioned before, YouTube is your friend. And check through different presenters on YouTube. There's some people that have a lot of information, but they are terrible at presenting. And you want to find somebody that you can understand, that you can listen to, that is giving you small bits of information that you can inhale fairly quickly.
There you go.
You gotta do a little slide step. I know, I'm dating myself there, right? Okay, any questions, folks? And all this stuff I'm gonna have up on my website. There's business cards back there that have all of my site information as well as an email. And if you see any of my EPUBs that interest you on the website, there's a free offer just for this group. Please don't spam it out. Send me an email and tell me where I ran into you, where you heard this, and I'll send you a free EPUB of it. How's that? Okay.
Very good.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Anthony.
All right. Are there any questions for Anthony before he goes? None? Okay. Any questions for me? I can handle it. All right. Well then, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate you guys coming in person, and thank you for all the people at home. We love you. We're thinking about you.
They can't hear you.
No, they can hear me. Trust me, they can hear me.
He's got the mic.
Okay. All right, let me say it again. Thank you for all the people at home. I'm not screaming. And just really appreciate you. We love you. And hopefully we'll all be together one day again soon. So I think next month we're still going to be here in this area of the O'Galley Library. And we're going to be giving away all the survival books to everybody who participated. So please come in person if you can. If you can't, send an email to jfisher@scwg.org, and we will make sure that you get your copies mailed to you, okay? So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and close the meeting, and just once again, thank you all for coming, okay?